Game changes. We ask the questions that matter, and we don't back down.
Tonight on Hot Issues, I sit with the man at the center of corruption investigations.
Join me on Hot Issues here on TV3.
Hot Issues now shows on Sundays at 1 p.m. on TV3.
TV3, first in news.
This makes me curious about this particular confession.
Our group leader, she took us to a bank of a river. She said she wanted to baptize us and give us power as women.
Which power do you need? This empowerment have killed your husband. Now, are you happy?
You need to ask yourself, who am I? What are my values that I wish to pursue? But unfortunately, most of these young women may not really know who they are.
Christian, Muslim, whatever you are, when you do evil, evil will catch you up. And she can never go unpunished.
Confessions now shows on Saturdays at 10 p.m. on TV3.
Brought to you by MTN.
This afternoon, Nsawam police station remained closed after residents clashed with police over detention of kidnapping suspect. Irama Smith has the latest on the man as residents demand to be handed over to them, an individual arrested for mob justice. Also, there's devastation and despair day after fire razed China City Mall at Santasi in the Ashanti region. Plus, firefighters still on fires. Firefighters in the Ahafo region bring Kwapo Nursing and Midwifery Training School fire under control. We have the details. Hello there and welcome to News Central here on TV3. I am Mawuena Egbeta. The bulletin starts right now. This afternoon, the Office of the Special Prosecutor is to press charges against former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta and 5 others over infractions in relation to the SML scandal by the end of November 2025. This follows a detailed investigation into alleged corruption and related offences over the controversial Ghana Revenue Authority GRA and Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited SML deal. There is a bit more in this report I put together from the OSP's office yesterday. Amount of what the Special Prosecutor Kise Jabin says is painstaking investigation undertaken by his office. He has arrived at the conclusion, along with the office, that 6 individuals will be charged before the end of November with various offences for the contractual arrangement entered into between the Ghana Revenue Authority and Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited, SML, in what has been a painstaking breakdown of activities involving the former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta and 2 former commissioners of the Ghana Revenue Authority. Kise Jabin went through the process of incorporation of Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited, its name changed from SMEL subsequently to SML, and arrived at the conclusion that after investigations, the country received no benefit from that contractual arrangement.
In a written complaint dated 18 December 2023 and addressed to the Special Prosecutor by Evans Ezia Momensa, Ajua Adubia Owusu, and Manasseh Azuri Awuni, journalists with the Fourth Estate, a non-profit investigative journalist project of Media Foundation for West Africa, the complainants petitioned the OSP to investigate contracts between MOF, GRA, and SML for possible corruption and a breach of the Procurement Act. The Special Prosecutor, upon determining that the complaint was within the mandate of the OSP, promptly authorized relevant officials of the OSP to commence preliminary investigation into the matter in accordance with Regulation 51B of LI 2374. The preliminary investigation was conducted with as little intrusion into the privacy of individuals and the business operations of corporate entities as the circumstances permitted. Following the KPMG audit, MOF, GRA, and SML acted on the KPMG recommendation of the consideration of shifting from a variable to a fixed fee structure in respect of downstream petroleum products audit. So by a memorandum of understanding signed on 1 November 2024, they changed the variable fee mechanism to a monthly fixed fee of 22,629,204 cedis 95 pesos, being, they stated, equivalent of 1,432,228 United States dollars 16 cents, inclusive of all taxes, at the prevailing Bank of Ghana exchange rate, which operated on 1st October 2024.
That's Kisi Ejabe. He's a special prosecutor. Let's subject this latest to a bit more. This time speaking to the individuals. Yeah, you heard Mr. Kisi Ejabe mention the individuals who petitioned his office for investigations into this matter. One of such individuals is Manasseh Azuri Awuni, an investigative journalist. For these days domiciled in the US, but we can engage him for a quick conversation. Manasseh, I appreciate you joining us. It's taken nearly 3 years, some say 2, for the Office of the Special Prosecutor to confirm the work you and your colleagues put together. Does this satisfy you in terms of the basis upon which you went to his office seeking that these individuals be prosecuted?
Thank you very much for having me. I think I must commend the Office of the Special Prosecutor for such a thorough job. Well done. I have raised concerns about the delay in the past, and at the end of the day, it is done. But as to the satisfaction, the aim of doing this investigation in the first place and even petitioning the Office of the Special Prosecutor was not to present this report, but to ensure that, one, monies that are paid to this company are retrieved, two, persons are prosecuted, and then the contract is terminated. Either of these or neither of these three, let me say any of them, has yet to be done. And so to talk about satisfaction at this stage, I'm still very far from being satisfied, because the downstream petroleum contract is still only outstanding, and the prosecution is yet to be done, and monies are yet to be retrieved. So satisfaction at this stage is still very far from my expectation.
And in terms of satisfaction and it being far off, you mentioned recoveries. In the Special Prosecutor's address yesterday, he stated an amount of 125 million, which is he's expecting to be able to recover from SML. In all of the conversations since your investigative report was done and what he has done, we find out that in excess of 1 billion cedis is what has been paid towards SML and this agreement. This stated figure of 125, which he's expecting to claw back, some would say does not tally in terms of all of the monies we've paid SML.
Those who say that are 100% right, and I don't know the basis upon which the OSP has come to that conclusion. and we may give him the benefit of the doubt and the office the benefit of the doubt and ask further questions. I also know that the OSP's mandate is limited in scope. So there can be corruption, and then there can be causing financial loss to the state. So I know that the Attorney General should also be interested in this case, and I heard the Attorney General say in his last press briefing that they had also concluded some work on SML. So I don't know which scope the OSP is using, but that amount is very paltry. It is not something that we should jubilate about, because if you look at page 8 of the OSP's report, you would find some payments that were made in respect of the transaction audit and external price verification contract. I took only the 2024 payment, which was around 166 million Ghana cedis for that component of the contract. And we know that at the beginning of 2024, January, President Akufo-Addo suspended the operations of SML and asked KPMG to do the audit. So for the first 6 months, SML did not work. When that audit was done, it was discovered that the external price verification and transaction audit components of the contract were already inbuilt into the GRA's ICOMs. So those services were not needed. The recommendation was that that contract should be terminated. In 2024, that contract was terminated. So if for 12 months in that year, when the contract was first suspended and terminated because both the GRA, the government, everybody, KPMG realized that the services were already being performed by GRA, then on what basis was the 166 million Ghana cedis for 12 months paid to this company? So if we take that little component alone, I tell you it is bigger than the figure the OSP wants to retrieve. So that is why I'm saying that those of us who know this case and those who have followed are very right in saying that the 125 million cedis that the OSP wants to recover is peanuts. As I've said, I don't know the basis for that calculation, and I don't know whether or not others fall within his domain or mandate, but I agree with you that those who question that figure are very right and justified in doing so.
And let's even talk about other aspects of the agreement between GRA and SML. The petroleum downstream agreement, for instance, we got to know that the NPA was doing a similar job, and there was no need for SML in that respect. The audit report of KPMG had suggested there was some value. The OSP says there was no value at all, but we've seen the GRA in the last week or so come out to suggest that indeed there has been value for money, and the promise by the current administration to terminate all such agreements have not come to fruition as well. Would you say we've been lied to as a people?
Well, this scandal has many, many legs, and the GRA's letter, which was given some twist by the media, I think I first saw it on my joyonline.com, and when I saw the letter itself written from the GRA, it didn't have the twist that my Joy Online put on it, and I have read similar such reports which appear to be some individuals or journalists doing the bidding of SML. That aside, if you look at what KPMG did, they said on pages 157 and 158 of the KPMG report, the revenue and also the volumes. There is nowhere in those analyses that you would find SML featuring. In fact, KPMG said SML recorded the lowest volumes. So there's no way you can attribute anything to them. Two, the NPA already had a system called the ERDMS, which measures the volumes of petroleum that is lifted. That system is connected to the customs ICOMs. So whatever goes through the MPA's system is what the GRA and the Customs Division use for taxes. So SML's measurements are never used to calculate taxes. When we asked, they said SML's meters were not as accurate as the existing ones. So it beats one imagination how KPMG found a way of trying to say that SML's operation had brought some benefit. And it is very interesting to note that some equations in this scandal are very interesting. One, the senior partner who was at KPMG at the time this investigation was done, or the KPMG report was done, is now heading the GRA. The GRA's former head of customs commissioner, Isaac Krenzel, now works for SML. The GRA's former head of legal, if you heard, a lot of laws were broken in terms of procurement. The GRA's former head of legal is now working for SML. The GRA's technical advisor to the Commissioner General at the time these SML contracts were engaged now works for SML. So there appears to be some kind of muddied situation that we may want to explore further, because it looks like so many individuals have interests and have crossed carpets, and things are getting even murkier. And we hope that these prosecutions would even target more people than we have seen.
Manasseh, we'll leave it here, but I appreciate you joining us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
That's investigative journalist Manasseh Azuri speaking to us this afternoon on the latest, as we've heard from the Office of the Special Prosecutor. He says before the end of November, I should say, he's seeking to have 6 of these individuals charged, but like we've been hearing from others, being charged is one thing, being put before the court is another, and we'll look forward to what happens in the coming days. But let's bring you a bit more in terms of stories. And Parliament came to a standstill on Thursday when proceedings stalled due to a critical lack of quorum of at least 92 members out of the 276 required to commence business. The minority MPs raised the alarm and accused their colleagues of abandoning their duties barely a day after the Speaker threatened to sanction habitually absent MPs.
Article 102 of the Constitution and Order 64 of Parliament's standing orders are clear that the House requires a mandatory 1/3 of the total number of MPs to form quorum for business. But at the beginning of sitting on Thursday, October 30th, the head count of MPs present was far below the required 92 number.
We are only 70 in the chamber, and for that matter, Mr. Speaker, I urge you to apply the rules that we don't have quorum as stated in Article 102 of the 1992 Constitution to continue with this Parliament.
This eventually resulted in a debate on the floor.
The Deputy Whip of the minority side, when I look on their side, I do not see their members present, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the pecs, Mr. Speaker, the pecs, Mr. Speaker, the pecs that they enjoy as leaders is to ensure that they also, especially as whips, they ensure that their members are present. Mr. Speaker, this house is not made up of only majority members of Parliament.
We implore leaders of committees, chairmen and ranking members that they should arrange committee businesses from about 9 a.m. up to about midday, so that by 1 p.m. we'll be ready to start business at 2 p.m. We are depleted because of the committee sittings. As we speak, public accounts is sitting, they just adjourn for the day. A committee on state interest is sitting.
The minority MPs who say they are displeased with the situation described their colleagues on the other side as the absentee majority.
That the Ghanaian people went through a lot to elect us as members of Parliament. So generally speaking, all of us are expected to take our duties as members of Parliament seriously. And secondly, and in particular, for the first time in the 4th Republican dispensation, in the wisdom of the Ghanaian people, they elected a supermajority for this 9th Parliament. And one will expect that out of this 189 of them, even if 99 of them were to stay at home, they will still have the 90 members of parliament required to form a quorum to do business. And why are they not showing up? And why is this majority turning out to be an absentee majority? We think what is happening now is totally embarrassing, it's most unfortunate, and it's a situation where the majority is simply engaging dereliction of duty and taking the Ghanaian people for granted.
Parliament has long suffered a trend of absentee MPs who usually don't seek permission. It was part of the reasons the House changed certain time from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. But that purpose has yet to see any result.
Please, we have the standing orders. We know what they say. We'll be taking action to make sure that we compel members to sit or to be considered to have vacated their seats.
The clerks have been directed to keep detailed attendance records to facilitate disciplinary actions against absentee MPs. Christian Yale, TV3 News, Parliament.
And, well, the House has not been so charitable. They've released a list of members of Parliament who've been absent without the permission of the Speaker, and we'll walk you through it because we know of the many things that you're supposed to get permission from the Speaker for up to 15. If you're going to absent yourself for more than 15 days, what we understand is that these MPs have done this without 15 days, or have gone beyond 15 days without informing the Speaker of Parliament. Perhaps we'll start with a bit of legislation. Not to bore you, but there's a basis upon which this is the case and reason why there are some who say that a number of these individuals should be losing their seats as a result of what is now being termed as parliamentary absenteeism. And it's steeped in Articles 97 1C of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana that MP shall lose their seat if without the Speaker's written permission and a reasonable explanation to the Privileges Committee, they miss 15 sittings during any meeting of Parliament. And so, very steeped in law, but who are these individuals? And let's try and get a bit more into the details. And so we know that of the numbers, 17 are NDC MPs, 11 are NPP MPs. In terms of the total number of days absent, we're looking at 175 days for all of the NDC MPs put together, and 123 for the NPP MPs as well put together. I'll skip the averages because that's a bit of a math that doesn't quite help us in understanding what really is at play. But in terms of individual highest absence without the permission of the Speaker, Finance Minister Dr. Kasia Latoforson, 17 days. And then Joseph Frimpong of the NPP, 22 days. And so interesting in terms of the development, but let's look at the individuals now, putting a face to them. There's Dr. Kasia Latoforson. He is the current Finance Minister. Blay Nyameke Ama, 16 days without permission from the Speaker. Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa is Foreign Minister. He's done 14. Abdul Rashid Pelpo is done 13. And then John Abdullahi Jinapo has done 11. Of the top five from the NDC, 4 of them are ministers of state, with Blay Nyameke Ama being the only one who's not a member of parliament within the top 5 of the governing National Democratic Congress. Let's look at the NPP, shall we? And when we look at their numbers as well, we get the understanding that it starts from Joseph Frimpong, 22 number of days without permission from the Speaker. Dr. Nana Ayiwe Friye has done 14, Kwabena Boateng 13, Kweku Agyeman Kwarteng 11, and Ernest Yao Enim 11 as well. And so these are, in terms of what it is that we're seeing, the numbers as released by Parliament. And again, these are details as captured from the roll call of Parliament in and of itself. Let's let's get a bit more or in terms of this concern and the conversations which have surrounded it, and take you now to Zoom for a conversation, because there are those who ask what must happen. Should they be losing their seat, or something can be done in that regard? Joining us right now is the Executive Director of the Parliamentary Network Africa, Sami Obeng. Let's speak to him right now via Zoom. Sami, thank you very much for speaking to us. Why is it that MPs are seeking to absent themselves in such a manner? We've been hearing different explanations, some saying that committees should sit separately from when the business of the House is happening as well. Is that the case? Why are we seeing this play out?
Well, I'm not too sure that I am close with the answer to why they are absenting themselves. It's a question that I'm also asking, just like you are asking, just like all Ghanaians are asking. However, it is important that we put a few things in perspective. It is not true that members of parliament who find themselves in committees are considered as absent on a particular sitting day, because by the way Parliament runs, parliamentary proceedings is both at plenary in the chamber and at committee when the committees are sitting. For which reason, if you have the roll call of Parliament, attendance for a particular sitting day, members of Parliament of, let's say, the Public Accounts Committee, should they be seized with going through their committee's business throughout the day, will still have their names as having been present because they were in Parliament discharging other duties, which needed to be discharged in Parliament. And so we should be singling out those members of Parliament who are neither attending plenary nor attending committee sittings, and are also not seeking permission from the right quarters to be absent. Because in Parliament, when the day's votes and proceedings are published, the votes and proceedings is basically the minutes of a particular day's sitting. It gives you an indication of all members who were present, those who were absent, and those who were absent with permission. What that means is that if you need to be absent for whatever justifiable cause, you need to seek permission through your leadership with Mr. Speaker, so that the office that is required to do the attendance can put you under the category of absent with permission. So any member of Parliament who finds himself as absent, that is without permission, over a consecutive number of days, should not be using the excuse of being at committee meetings because they are not, should not be using the excuse of having requested permission because they have not, and we should be singling them out, naming and shaming them, because when a single member of Parliament absents himself from plenary sitting, that is tens of thousands of Ghanaians who are being left out of the decision-making process in our country. And that cannot be condoned. If people don't go to work in this country, in the civil service, in the private sector and whatever, they get punished. If members of Parliament fail to turn up at work, they must also face the full rigors of the law.
And there are those who make the argument that, look, this can cause a distrust of some sort between the public and the institution of Parliament. Do you see it in that light, or these are isolated cases? Because the conversation of absenteeism is one that has been with us for quite a while.
Reason why they cannot be isolated cases, and reason why, with all due respect, I wonder why Mr. Speaker needs to be coming to the chamber and telling us again as Ghanaians that he is giving the final warning. Mr. Speaker, respectfully, these final warnings you've been issuing since the 8th Parliament that you've been Speaker. In the 8th Parliament needed to crack the whip. Mr. Speaker, respectfully, together with the leadership of Parliament, you refuse to crack the whip. And you see, for whatever institution that people refuse to take disciplinary actions against people who flout the rules, what happens then is that you build a group of people who are, unconcerned, and because they know that whatever happens, the rules will not be applied. If this happened in the 8th Parliament and we spoke about it on television and on radio in the chamber, Mr. Speaker spoke about it, Parliament and parliamentarians, had us spending time for people to come appear before the committees on privileges to explain themselves, only for the House, to both sides of the House, to play politics with the report of the committee until such a time when the committee's report could not be taken and then the 8th Parliament expires, then you expect that in the 9th Parliament, reasonable people who know that this is what happens when you absent yourself will certainly absent themselves because they see no, punitive measures attached to it. And that's why it is impressive that at least for starters, the list of members of parliament who are absenting themselves and the number of days that they've been absenting themselves so far is coming up. At least people will start feeling the pressure from their constituents. But we expect that we move further. Those who flout the constitutional provision, the Constitution says that they must appear before the Privileges Committee. And it's our expectation that once they've crossed that particular line of the number of sitting days within a meeting, and this current meeting just started, but once they've crossed that particular line, we should see them being hauled before the Privileges Committee so they can explain to us why they've not been present. Because if you are a minister and you have reason why you cannot be in parliament, you seek permission so your name can be written under the list of members who are absent without permission. If you are an ordinary member of parliament, and what I mean by ordinary in that context is you don't belong to the executive branch as well, you also seek permission if you've got to be absent. But parliament must be minded that we will continue to have these conversations if the leadership of the house fails to crack the whip. It's been 9 months yesterday since the folks at the appointments committee misconducted themselves on the 30th of January, if you recall. 9 months down the line, nothing has happened to any of them. The clerk of parliament who was charged by Mr. Speaker to make sure that the case gets reported to the
police and they pay for the damages and all that.
Pay for the damages, nothing. In fact, at Parliamentary Network Africa, we put in an access to information request asking to find out where they are on this. Flimsy excuses given to us on what Parliament is doing about it. We escalated it to the level of the Speaker. Nobody is responding to this, which means denial. And we are moving further to the next stage to make sure that Parliament acts responsibly. Our institution of Parliament, which is the arm that is supposed to oversee the executive branch when they misconduct themselves, must also be seen to be conducting themselves in a way that we can check them as well, because it's a case of who watches the watchman.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Sami, it's a cause that you find a lot of support from, particularly here, but I appreciate you joining us, and we'll look forward to the outcome of these petitions and whether or not it amounts to much, considering that committee and that what you describe as misconduct, amongst many other things. But I always appreciate you joining us, Sami Obeng, speaking to us this afternoon. And we're going for our very first break this afternoon here on News Central. When we return, we're in the Western region because we know that the police station at Nsuem was besieged by angry youth over abductions and a killing. The police have picked up a suspect. Now the young people say hand them over so we can't beat him to death. Is that allowed? We'll get the details when we return. Right now for a bit of updates, because if you know Takoradi and you know the history, at least some 5 to 6 years ago, remember the Takoradi girls kidnapping incident, not much for the people came out of it, and now we're beginning to see these reported cases of abductions and murders or killings of little ones. And so let's connect with her right now. Irama, help us understand what is running through the minds of the people, because there's a history in relation to the Takoradi girls and now this. Talk to us about all of this vis-a-vis this latest development and the burning down of or the attack of this police station.
Right. So when you talk about kidnapping here in the Western region, it's nothing new. However, one has nothing to do with the other. You know, Takoradi is quite a distance away from Takwa and then Takwa in Swahili. However, what is causing the agitation is the fact that on Tuesday they woke up to see the body of the little girl locked up in the classroom, and then that is what is causing the agitation. And there is mistrust in the community, generally mistrust of the police, because coming on the heels of the little girl who was locked in the chop box, and they haven't heard nothing about any results of any investigations. It's like they feel the police may be covering up the whole thing, and that is why they are demanding, or they are still demanding anyway, that the gentleman be released to face instant justice. However, there is a new development. This morning, when I spoke to the PRO of the Western Central Command of the Ghana Police Service, that is ASP Beatrice Testing, she disclosed that when the little girls were questioned, they revealed that no, they had actually approached the gentleman in question to tell them to cross the street. So it wasn't like the gentleman had forcefully taking hold of the little girls. No, they had approached the gentleman to help them to cross the street, and that is what was misconstrued by the observer, and she raised an alarm leading to this whole chaos. So that is the newest disclosure about the whole issue.
Right then, Irama, we're pressed for time. We'll leave it here, and then we'll come back. We'll come back subsequently for a fuller conversation on this particular one. Irama Smith is my colleague in the Western region, helping us understand exactly what's happening within the Western region. The call has been and we'll seek to follow up on this and bring you details of it. But just quickly, firefighters from the Kukuom and Guaso fire stations in the Ahafo region have successfully brought under control fire that broke out at the Kwapong Nursing and Midwifery Training College this morning. The distress call was received at 7:12 a.m. and the Kukuom fire crew arrived at 7:30. Reinforcements from the Guaso Municipal Fire Station followed, and the combined effort of the two crews brought the blaze under control at about 8:45 a.m. We understand it's been completely doused as at 10:16. And investigations now are underway to find out exactly what may have started that fire. We have to run because there is an important forum we have to be connecting to. But before that, 2 fire incidents, we've brought you one, and there was another in Kumasi yesterday involving the China Mall, and quite a number of facilities were razed down. And a day after that fire, a major commercial hub in Kumasi, the scene is one of devastation and despair, and it will be no other thing because millions have lost. The fire, which reportedly started around 3 p.m. Thursday, engulfed the entire building, making it impossible for shop owners to salvage anything. Ibrahim Abubakar returned to the scene this afternoon and reports.
So almost 24 hours after fire swept through the China City Mall here at Santasi in Kumasi, the air at the scene is still thick with smoke. The building's exterior and interior are heavily blackened, with portion of the structure coming down, revealing the intensity of the blaze. A combined team of personnel from the Ghana National Fire Service and the Police Service has cordoned off the area to allow for preliminary investigation and prevent any potential structural collapse. Demolition on portion of the building has begun as per recommendation by the Ghana National Fire Service, but part of the building, according to officials, will remain untouched until after the investigations.
As you can see, the structure, we ask that that frontage should not be brought down until the investigation is completed. So this morning we are here to continue the investigation. We will be talking to individuals who are workers, as occupants of the structure, combined with our own observation of the structure to come out with a conclusive probable cause of whatever it is.
While the official cause of the fire is yet to be determined, initial speculations point to a possible electrical fault. The incident has sparked conversation about fire safety compliance in commercial buildings in the city.
I tell you honestly, it looks as if we are not taking fire safety measures very serious. Even if you are taking it serious, many organizations do not make them as a management issue. Many don't want to make it management issue because it involves funds. All over the world, fire safety is very expensive. But you shouldn't therefore compromise on it. We should take it very serious.
Ibrahim Abubakar, TV3 News, Kumasi.
Let's take you to the Reddington Beach Resort right now at Wuti and Loga, to be specific, because that's where the Volta Economic Forum is happening right now. My colleague Roland Walker is on standby as we're picking that entire forum live here on TV3. Roland, if you can hear me, kindly do take it away.
The Reddington Beach Resort right here at Wuti in the Volta region is where we're having the Volta Economic Forum 2025. According to the organizers, promises to be an annual affair, all things being equal. And it has gathered here keynote speakers who will be speaking on various facets of the economy as well as subsectors. More importantly, we're told that we already have the Chief of Staff in-house, Julius Deborah, as well as key government functionaries, as well as individuals occupying both public and private sectors in relation to the management as well as supervision of the economy. And I quickly would want to have an insight into all this and speak to Dr. Elikplim Afetogbo, who is one of the key organizers, is now at the forefront of this, had been in fact constant touch with many of us when it comes to this important event, promising to bring everybody right here gathered at the Reddington Beach Resort at Wuti. And let me just speak to you quickly. Can you just get up for me? You take a look at what the conversation has been about, what the theme is, trying to harness the key resources within the Voltaic Basin as well as the Volta Corridor for the 24-hour economy, etc. It means that a lot of work has to be done, right?
Exactly. So we are putting up this forum together to bring investors, real investors, into the region to explore opportunities that we have in the region. Volta region has been on the drawing table for long. Volta region has been on the drawing table for a long time, but it is time now that we actualize these plans into real investment that can transform the local economy of Volta.
The key question is that you look across investors in Ghana's economy, you'll find people of maybe Volta region or T region descent, but they don't invest back home. So what really is the value proposition?
So we are trying to convince them now that whatever the requirement is for their investment to be viable in the region is ready now. You look at the president's priority focus as far as the 24-hour economy is concerned, about 40 or 60% of that policy is about the Volta corridor, meaning that the entire value chain of whatever business, whatever investment activity has a place in the region now. So it's about market development. If the logistics that will be needed to enable whatever their produces, their businesses to be marketed along the value chain, the truth is available right now.
I saw that on the flyers. You had some key dignitaries. The chief of staff is supposed to represent key individuals as well as a government functionary, knowing that the president is out. But it also means that you need all and sundry, whether they're foreign investors, private sector investors, those within policy, its formulation, implementation in the public sector as well. Who do you have here?
So we have a lot of investors here. For instance, we have the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Chamber of Commerce and Industry heavily represented here. We also have the Chinese Government Enterprises in Ghana Association heavily represented here. We have some Norwegian business community also represented here. We have local investors also represented here. We have the AFC country director also present here to provide support to this arrangement that we are putting up. We want Volta to move at this time and not tomorrow.
All right. And you promised that in the next 10 minutes you'll start?
Exactly. We are ready. All the dignitaries we expected are ready now for the program to start.
Dr. Elekwilima Petokba, one of the key organizers for the 2025 Volta Economic Forum, and of course, highly themed on the 24-hour economy, how the potential that it promises could be harnessed for the Voltaic Basin, the Volta Corridor, etc. And we have everybody else right here. It will be live just in the next, the beginning of the live here on TV3, across our socials, and more importantly, what needs to be done. But socio-economic development becomes an underpinning factor where human development is also affected. And Faisal, you're a key person who tends to cover stories, whether human interest, economic viability, etc., for the region. You think this is a good thing? How do you think that is going to resonate with the stakeholders within the region?
Well, Roland, in the last few weeks, there have been a series of events of a similar nature. There was one at the Early Beach Resort recently where the various MDAs gathered to discuss the key investment potentials in the region and also to say there are various jurisdictions. 2 days ago, there was the Volta OT investment roadshow launched by the GIPC in collaboration with the Volta Regional Coordinating Council. All of these is intended to expose the region to investment, reposition the Volta region as the best investment destination, focusing on tourism and agriculture. And today, I am expecting that the people coming here, particularly those who are coming to speak to us, will be speaking more of the potentials the region holds in terms of development, in terms of tourism in particular, and also in terms of agriculture. And I'm sure by the time we are leaving here, I am a person from the Volta region. I want to see this region grow. And if we have to grow, then we have to grow from domestic perspective. Domestic perspective in the sense that we have a lot in tourism, we have a lot in agriculture. How do we leverage on all of these to make sure that in the end we create job opportunities for the young people here in the region? And so I expect that at the end of the day, we are able to come to a consensus. Okay, this is where we are headed in the next 4-5 years.
Well, Faisal, thank you very much. If I call you Alaji Faisal, it's appropriate. Right?
It's appropriate.
Just return for Mecca this year.
It's appropriate.
All right, so Faisal there, Alaji Faisal, more appropriately, just speaking to us, crisscrosses the region, speak to key stakeholders, those who have invested in the economy of the region, interested in it, as well as live in the region. But that'll be it for now. We'll be live after the end of the news for the 2025 Volta Economic Forum, live here on TV3 and across our socials, TV3 Ghana.
Thank you very much, Roland. Roland will take us on to a break. We return and we take the show home. Now, Prime Time Limited, organizers of the National Science and Math Quiz, has resumed the quarterfinal stage of the competition after it was postponed on Thursday following an incident. The contest could not start after organizers were unable to control the crowd. The contest, which was scheduled for Thursday, October 30, was to feature Prempeh College, Adisadel College, and Infantipim. However, it had to be called off after a large number of supporters forced their way into the venue, disrupting proceedings. The organizers explained that the decision to use the School of Graduate Studies auditorium was based on its suitability for the production setup and its availability. And that's it from us this week here on News Central. Back again on Monday. I am Mawuena Egbeta. Many thanks for watching.